Hello Booktube, it's Louise from the Big Head Bookworm and it is the middle of March and so I'm here very late with the books that I read in February. Now I did actually record a video right at the end of February and I was very pleased with myself and I was like, oh, I shall just release it and it'll be fine, but it was so long and frankly I bored myself. So there was no way I was going to put that out. So I kept meaning to do it. But I've been reading and doing other things, and then today the boy's been off ill, poor Benedict, horrible cold and cough, so much snot. However, it is the evening now and I thought, right, I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. I'm going to go through the books that I read in February. So this is my February 2016 wrap up and it will be quick, hopefully. So I had listened to 2 audiobooks. The first one was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I just had to keep going. At the end of the Deathly Hallows, I was so upset that it was over and I missed the magical world so much. So I got this and it was brilliant, as always. And then the second one I listened to was an Agatha Christie that I have read many, many times, and it is Murder in Mesopotamia by Agatha Christie. This is the book I have. Oh, isn't it old? But I listened to it on Audible and I loved it. It's just a good classic Agatha Christie. I still love all my Agatha Christies and they're brilliant as an audiobook. I'm so familiar with them. They're there, they're comforting, and I just enjoy it. So that was beautiful. I read 2 non-fiction. The first one was fabulous, the second one not so. The first one, here it is, it's Gloria Steinem, My Life on the Road. Oh, I just loved it. Absolutely superb. I'm quite tempted to do a collection of books that are feminist, and this is one of them. And she is just brilliant. I've never read any Gloria Steinem, a book. I've read articles, I've read not blogs, but I've read things about her and that I've used her words and stuff, but I've never actually read a whole book by her, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it taught me so much about how it came about for her. It's a memoir, not a biography. It's still fabulous, absolutely wonderful. Completely recommend that. So I'll do a video about some of the feminist books that I've been reading recently. And the second one I read was this. It's called The Skeleton Crew by Deborah Halber. Somewhere, try to put it that side, is that better? That's better actually, isn't it? Somewhere in this book there is a brilliant book. Unfortunately this is not it. The problem with this book is it's about cold cases and how there are web detectives that are throughout the world, but mainly in America these are focused on, and she's a journalist and it felt like lots of articles and it felt like she didn't know how to plot a complete book, even though this is non-fiction, and it is fascinating. It had the same pace throughout. I just at times was dire. She was trying to build suspense, but it was appalling, and yet it's such a fascinating subject. She crucified you basically. However, I did read it and I did learn a lot, so in that respect it was fine. But there's a good book in here, just not this particular one, which was a shame, but these things happen. So down to the novels that I read. I read 8 novels. No, 6 novels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 10 books in total. So I read 6 novels, non-fiction. The first one, oh, it was wonderful. This is my Pride and Prejudice Penguin clothbound edition that I was given by my husband John. Mwah, to him, and it was fabulous. I absolutely adored it. I keep rereading it, and each time I reread it, I worry that it's not going to be as good. Why? Why do I worry? It was as good. It was as good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed every single second of it, especially because I was reading it with this beautiful edition. The next book I read was Daphne du Maurier's The Frenchmans Creek. We were down in Cornwall. This is set in Cornwall. It had to be done. We didn't actually go to Helford, which is where this is set. It's a brilliant novel. Really, really good. Really enjoyable. I haven't read a Daphne du Maurier for quite some time. She's a fabulous heroine. Lady Donna. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. The end... And luckily a friend of mine's reading it, or has read it, so that we can get together and talk about the ending. I needed somebody to talk about the ending with me, because I was like, but it's a fabulous feisty heroine, it's got pirates in, it's set in Cornwall, it's wonderful. I totally recommend that. Then I read another book. This is The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, bestseller in Germany. It's about a bookshop on a barge that he can sense the books that people need to help their issues or their problems, or that they need at that particular moment. He's like a literary apothecary is what he's called. It's fine. It's fine. It's thoroughly enjoyable and then very silly at the same time. It did slightly irritate me at times, but it was fine. It was fine for what I wanted at that time. It was a perfectly doable read. It's not going to set the world alight, I don't think. However, I can imagine it becoming a movie and actually being okay, depending on who did the screenplay and who they cast. But it was fine. It was fine. It was one of those where you put it down and went, yeah, fine. One or two little kind of wry smiles and a lot of kind of bookish chat. Love a bit of bookish chat. Then I read Mary Stewart's The Crystal Cave. This is the first in a classic Merlin trilogy, which I didn't realise until I picked it up that it was a classic Merlin trilogy. Really, really good. I have since bought the next two because I think it's one of those that if you don't read quite... I think for me, if I start a trilogy or I start something, unless they're not out, then I need to read them quite quickly to get me in, to keep me still in that universe. If you like Merlin stories, if you like Arthurian legends, this is a brilliant one to start with. And we've got the other two coming up, which is The Hollow Hills and The Last Enchantment. So this is him up to Arthur's conception, if you know about it. But it's brilliant, really enjoyable, really, really quick read. Arcane language, but really doable. Then the last two. Excuse me, my voice is going. This was my book club read, Brooklyn by Colm Tobin. It's now a major motion picture. Still don't like this cover. I didn't really enjoy this. I really didn't enjoy this. How somebody read this and thought, I'm going to make a movie out of that. And it to be so successful as a movie. And it's the winner of the Costa Novel Award. What do they look for? Yeah, there was so much about this that irritated me. I found her so passive. I think the biggest problem for me was she was so passive. The heroine, Ellis, or Ellis, as I kept thinking of her, was just so wet weekend. And it was almost a really aggressive passive. She really was passive aggressive in the true way. And she let things happen. It really irritated me, so I didn't like her at all. So I really struggled. I think when you don't like a heroine and she's supposed to be likeable, or you're at least supposed to think something about her, that makes it hard. So that was a hard one for me. Luckily, it's not very long, and I read it very quickly. So that I was like, ugh. But when I finished it, though, you know when you come finish a book that you don't like, and there's nothing you can say and do, you just go, oh. And so I didn't know what to pick up after that. And I'd read a lot, but I didn't know what to pick up. So I reached to the Jill Shalvis, which I somehow can't pronounce. It's called At Last. It's the Lucky Harbour series. This is number 5 in a 12-book series. They come in clumps of 3 story arcs. And this is number 5, so it's the second in a 3. Tend to get 3 heroines and 3 heroes, and it's a contemporary romance. It's light, throtty romance. It's great. It was just what I needed at the end of the month. I blasted through it and I felt much better about myself, and I felt like I could take away from the Brooklyn hangover that I had. So there we go. Pretty good, hey? So I did pretty good at my reading. I think that out of the month, I would say Pride and Prejudice. Just wonderful, especially reading that edition. Reading a really juicy edition of something just makes it so fabulous, and it just makes the reading experience so much more enjoyable. The other one I think for me was Gloria. I shall refrain from singing the tune, but I loved her. I loved it. I really, really did. And there was an awful lot in there about kind of feminism, and it's about not just feminism, but a lot about Native American. I think there's an awful lot. She's gone into kind of Native American rights and the way that they are. I don't know whether they have a different way of viewing the sexes and that kind of stuff, and it's just brilliant. I just really enjoyed it. So those are the 2 books that I would say this month that made the month for me. Oh, and Daphne du Maurier, of course. And that's it. That's the end of my month. I'm now going to, hopefully, do a haul and maybe an early March wrap-up. I know! So much deliciousness in one evening, but who knows? I might lose the will, might lose my enthusiasm. It's been lovely chatting to you. It's great to see your face again. We should get together, do it more often. What do you say? So let me know if you've been reading anything fabulous, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.